Hi, everyone. Hello, hello.
Hello,
Happy
everyone.
to have you here. Go ahead.
So we are live for anyone who's just joining us. Welcome. We're going to get started in just a moment. So you can skip ahead about 1 minute.
Welcome, everyone.
Hey, all righty.
How's everyone doing? I see you excited. Hi. Hi, Mandy. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. And we're streaming live already. So hi, everyone over there. I wish you were here.
A lot of people joining us from all over the world, which is fantastic. I think we're going to go ahead and get started today. So welcome everyone to our final session of the EYP Masterclass series. So EYP, one of the reasons why we've been breaking it down into these 26 simple poses, which Patricia will share last and final one, is a way to add EYP into your daily lives, whether you're a coach, whether you're a yoga teacher, any other kind of facilitator. EYP is definitely transformational and can be used in all aspects. Before I have the pleasure to introduce Patricia, I'm going to be sharing with everyone a quick video to get you inspired and to get you connected with EYP. Okie dokie. Sorry about that, everyone. Patricia, do you have any words to say while I just pull up that video for everyone?
Sure. I would love to know how everyone's landing after a full week. I know some of you have done a few sessions, but I know many of you out there have done a lot of sessions. I actually just saw today that someone did all of the sessions. So
Oh,
my respect.
that's
Yeah.
incredible. We
Yeah.
have that video ready to go. So I'm just going to pull that up for everyone here. Fantastic. This is going to give you a little bit of a deeper introduction into EYP. And if this is your first session or your 20th or your 25th, welcome.
What the EYP course for coaches has to offer you is a way to shift things from getting stuck in the head and getting into the body. These very simple forms can be done in normal clothing, in any setting, anywhere, and you can then begin to look at the patterns that might be keeping your clients stuck. As a coach, I use this mostly with my clients with intimacy and relationship and communication, and as soon as I get them to move from the cerebral part of the conversation and getting them down and into their body.
See yourself as you see other people, because I have a very critical eye at the moment.
So when you sign up, there's plenty of support available to you. We have a private Facebook group that you are welcome to join. We have monthly Q&A calls, so you get a lot of ideas of how other people are using the same things.
Great. Okay. We'll be sharing some of those links for how you can get involved further with EYP in just a moment. And now I have the honor to introduce Patricia, who is a yoga teacher and family constellation facilitator. And she's been a yogi and meditator for almost 2 decades. So such a breadth of experience here. It's such an honor to have her. She's passionate about sharing deep spiritual work from a very grounded and earthy experience. And today she's going to be involved with just that and going to be showing us the self-care pose. So let Patricia take it away and share more about herself and more about her work today.
Thank you, Alicia. Hi, everyone. If you're just joining, I already said hi to those of you who had been here before, but Definitely hi everyone on Facebook stream, on the YouTube streaming, on the recording, and these beautiful faces that I'm lucky to see tonight here on my Zoom screen. Thank you for being here. And I think I speak on behalf of many of us facilitators for this week. And I thank you for being here, for being part of all of this movement that has been fun, deep, entertaining, nourishing, educational, and all of them wrapped up together in this beautiful EYP method. I would love to find out how many sessions have you been to and what have you liked so far? What was the best thing that you've been in love with that you've seen on sessions? Let me know on the chat. And if you're on the live stream, Alicia will be doing us the beautiful favor of sending that information over here. So I will be looking out for that. So how many sessions have you been to? What have you liked the most? What have you enjoyed the most? Either from the poses, from the sessions, from EYP in general, whatever you wish to share that fills your heart, that nourishes you, that enlightens you, that enlivens you today, that you're picking up from all of the sessions. I know that still there is a time to let this sink in, as one of my teachers said, and it's just stuck in my head and I use it whenever I can. We still will be marinating in the EYP effect for some time. 10, I liked authority pose and warrior. Thank you. 10 sessions, liked all of them, especially yes pose. Great, wonderful. 7 to 9, lost track. Thank you. Yeah. I believe 6, I have enjoyed the various teachers. I have already used the authority pose. Yay, direct application. Thank you for sharing that. It's so funny because I did my EYP training some time ago and I use it regularly. And the session that I had, one-on-one session that I had right before this session, and I felt that I was getting even deeper into how I share EYP, into how I share the depth of experience. So I'm as nourished as the ones that feel nourished. I'm reading here, sensuality was fun. Yay. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I enjoy warrior, and I had been working with authority pose. The energy from the facilitators is powerful. I have done all but 5 live and recorded. Wow. All of yours are amazing. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. I feel like I'm in the room with you. Hey, I like that. Thank you. Rest pose. I wanted to be on rest pose. I really enjoy rest. It's always super helpful to me. Great. So thank you all for being here. Again, as I said, thank you for being part of all of these things that has been happening throughout the whole week. In case you hadn't noticed or that you haven't been in contact with many of the sessions still, not just because I love many of the people here as facilitators and they're amazing people and I know many of them. This is very selected and very good people who know what they're doing, who have an amazing talent for their crafts, each on their own styles and their own flavors. So I'm really happy to be able to bring that group over to you. And I'm also very excited, as you might be able to tell, because self-care, the post that we're working on today, is one of my favorites and one of the most popular and loved poses in EYP. And if this is the first time that you do it, it is a great honor for me to be able to introduce this into your life. This is by far, and when I say by far, it's like radically by far, the pose that I have used the most in my one-on-one sessions with people. Like incredible. If let's say I've used, if I can say on a ratio of 1 or maybe 2 to the other poses, I've used this like 10 times more. So it's like amazingly important, useful, practical, and simple to use. These are all also things about EYP, right? To define EYP, but self-care in particular is like a gift, a beautiful birthday cake on its own. I enjoy it so much, and I see how people, I think I shared some of this yesterday with someone or during a session. I usually give like little homeworks on my sessions, like do this or do that or try. Yeah, I mean, something that came up during the session, and they have some practice to do. And I know that sometimes I give out those homeworks and people might or might not do them. And I mean, it's part of the thing, and it's okay if they don't, right? But self-care, they always remember. They always remember that, and they start applying it on their own, and they say like, "Oh, I did that hug thing that you showed me to do," and they know how to apply it, and it's a very easy. They find a very quick connection to the need and the moment when they need it. So that's one of the reasons that I really, really love it. Wonderful. So let's take a deep breath with the acknowledgement that we're starting on our final official EYP session because we have something coming up today. Do you guys know that there's something still coming up tomorrow? Tomorrow, America time right now. So all of those who are on the European continent, the day that's starting, if you're on Asian time, on that day, I guess. So it's happening at 10 a.m. Central US, so it's 4 p.m. UK. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. It's like a bonus session, is it, Sarah? Yeah, it's happening tomorrow. But officially, we're ending the process today. So again, let's take a deep breath with the intention of going into today, but also closing the whole week. And allowing my body to sink in with the mind, who already knows what's happening. Allowing my body to catch up to the mind, to the emotional experience of closing, of allowing something to end. Both because I join that dance of the ending, that music, that rhythm, but also because that's already happening, like a shift in the season. If there's a little resistance, some of us are sometimes resisting endings, right? And Mark, I love how he always brings that up for us to be mindful of how we close and how we open, how we begin. And he says sometimes when we end, we still linger, right? And we're still like, oh, could I ask you another question? Or like, oh, could I also, like, we crave a little something more. And I know that sometimes questions do happen, right? But he asks us to explore if that's still like, I don't want to let go, like something is happening that I want to postpone coming into the reality of ending. And I would invite you, if that's happening somewhere in your body, it's not you, of course, it's just your body, right? Wonderful. We're just giving another quick introduction on self-care pose that we are using as a closing for our beautiful week. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And I'm very happy to share with you the experience of self-care. I cannot wait to see all of your journeys in the next few minutes. So how does our body feel when we are getting close to closing? Does it find ease? Does it find resistance? Does it find willingness? And before saying, oh, I feel that I'm resisting and that's bad and I shouldn't do it, just for 1 second before you go on that wagon, allow it to be. Allow it to be. Like an adult that can see beyond a small tantrum that we're allowed to have, sort of, right? In an adult way, that's also okay. Can we allow the experience to be there? Context matters, This time is exciting, knowing what's ahead. Yeah. And what's ahead, the application of all of these, right? Wonderful. Great. So let's go ahead and get started with self-care. So I would invite you to stand up. And as with all of the EYP poses, and we've talked about this before, there are seated variations. So of course, we refer to the seating variations for accessibility, someone who's injured or someone with a disability. But I personally use it when I'm just like, I don't want to move, but I need to shift a state or I need something. And I really do it laying down or sitting or just wherever you are. There are adjustments that you can make to make this pose accessible. So for self-care, we're going to stand with our feet together, our knees together. And we're going to take one arm, whichever you want, and go around your belly, somewhere around your waist, where it usually is. And the other hand, I'm going to go closer so that you can see me, is going to come across the chest and find a spot somewhere on your shoulders, curving a little into your back. And this is like the general instruction, but do feel free to find that adjustment that feels just right for you. And this is an invitation, but be sure to check in on yourself to bend or to tilt your head a little bit towards your shoulder. Allow your breath to happen naturally. And start sensing what's happening in your body as you're coming into the pose. How are you responding to this position in your body? What's the reaction that's happening? Do you see the quality of your breath changing? Or is it remaining the same? What's happening as we are taking a few more breaths here? Is this feeling comfortable or uncomfortable? Do you feel a sinking into the pose? Or is it not allowing itself to find a place of ease? Whichever experience you're having, allow that to be. This is the experience that we want to be a witness of first here. What's my relationship to my self-care? To feeling close to myself. Do I feel that I want more of it right now or less of it right now? Does it feel that I want to stay here longer? Or am I already thinking, when is this going to be over? Can you tell if you need more of this in your life? Or less of this in your life? What's coming up as we're staying here for a few more minutes? Does this feel familiar? How often during my day, during my week, during my life am I here? Whether in the comfort or the not so comfortable version of the pose. How much of my time is spent in this quality of relationship with my self-care? And before we come out of the pose, before we do that, take a second to take inventory of what happened during these few minutes. What's the result of me staying here? Of me exploring my relationship to self-care? What's the result of that? And as you take that insight in, allow yourself to come out of the pose slowly, respectfully of the state that you went into. And I'm allowing a couple of seconds here so that you stay with that experience, with that insight. Great. Take your time to come back to the screen. Does someone want to share what that was like and the insight that you got? What was that for you? We have a message here. I always need more. Uncomfortable and foreign. Connected to my heart, feeling of protection and stillness. How new is this to you? It was a reminder I'm human with human needs. Yay! Welcome to the human experience. Breathing slower and into my belly felt unusual. Don't often do this. Yeah. That felt wonderful. I realized that I was clasping my shoulder tightly. Once I told myself that I could do this in a room filled with people, my hand relaxed. Oh, that's great. From YouTube, the first few moments, it was an overwhelming, sweeping wave of emotion. I cried a bit. Yes, that's pretty common. So feel supported on that. Yes, because usually we're a little strange to that, right? Or was it for someone? Was it like, yeah, I do this every day. I felt this all of my life. Nothing new. Usually, for most of us mortals, this is relatively new. Something heavy and tight in my upper back, the rest of the body relate, uncomfortable. Also from YouTube, tense shoulders. I love that. Yeah. Another comment, cocoon self-cohesion. Great. Wonderful. We're gonna go back in a while. So for those of you who found it familiar, like, yeah, I liked it, I could go into it easily, I have connected to other moments in my life where I felt that. Where did you learn that? Why are you able to do that? Earlier this week. Yay. EYP, I'm assuming EYP. Yeah. EYP result. It comes natural in a way. Yeah. That's lovely. I'm going to use that in a second, if I may. And for those of us who find it uncomfortable, how do you relate to that uncomfortableness? Do you feel I'm behind? Do you feel I'm bad? I'm flawed? I should be? Very resistant. For those of us who find, I mean, the thing about self-care and self-love is that they are big words, right? And then all these phrases come up around. One of them in particular that I actually have written, recorded stuff about, that you cannot expect love if you haven't loved yourself. So again, it's like, so like, you know, like these math problems that you couldn't do when you were a child, like there's no way that I can understand this. I mean, if you're math wizards, you might not relate to this example, but I know like I cannot find like the way to solve this. And sometimes self-love feels like that, right? And then they tell you, if you don't solve your math problem, you're not gonna get love, you're not deserving of it. So it's like double stuff, double bad stuff, right? And this idea of loving yourself at the same time, it's like a holy grail, and at the same time, it's like you should be. Oh, you went into that relationship because you don't love yourself. You accepted that because you don't love yourself. Like you should be doing it. It's like everyone's doing it except you, right? But if we demystify or de-romanticize the concept of self-love, it's something that we do and that it's a skill. Same as tying your shoelace. Same as speaking a language. Same as a habit. Where do we learn to love ourselves? How do we learn love towards ourselves? So this is a very wide example of one of the ways that I use this in therapy, in coaching. Because when we see self-love as a skill, it's a skill for certain circumstances in our past that we don't have to look at right now, but those circumstances did not. So we might have grown in a house that did not speak Russian. So I don't speak Russian, but I can learn it. And the fact that I don't speak Russian right now does not speak of my value, does not speak of my worth, of the fact that I can or cannot. If I cannot, it's just that I don't know the language. And that's it. Yeah, it's supposed to be modeled, exactly. Having self-compassion for all our perceived inadequacies. Yes. Yes. Sometimes I think it's, I mean, I'm not here to tell you what self-love is, but sort of like showing a context so that we start relating it through the post. Sometimes when I think of self-love, I think of respect, learning to respect myself, my needs, my wants. It doesn't mean entitlement, right? Because that's like the shadow side of self-love. Like, you should be treating me, like a queen, and everyone should be, like these celebrities that, when I arrive someplace, I expect 1,000 candles of rose scented things and stuff like that. Like, I expect that because of who I am, and I deserve that. So yeah, that's not really where we're going, right? And another word that comes up for me when I think of self-love is dignity. And that intrinsic, very human, so human that it feels like special. Dignity as a human that we all have. We may or may not have seen that, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. And if we did not experience that from those who could have modeled it for us in an ideal scenario and possibilities, it does not mean that I don't have that space for that dignity, for that love. Yeah. As you're hearing these, connecting to your stories, connecting through your bodies, what other words come up for you when you think of self-care or self-love? Gentleness, commission, compassion. Yeah. Healthy boundaries. Mm-hmm. Just as I am. Listening, acceptance, self-value. Yeah. Communion, taking time to rejuvenate, like that. Love. Yeah. So before we go back to the post with all of this context, can you tell that something shifted in your relationship with your self-care right now? This far, we're gonna still do something else, but so far, has something changed? Resilience. And again, as you're typing and I read your messages, it's important to remember in EYP, we don't look for a right, like you have to do self-love and you have to do receiving and you have to do yes posts in a particular way that's correct. Sometimes in like regular yoga, we do know that, like the eyes, the gaze, the arm, the 90-degree angle, the foot, the ankle, and there's sort of like not just a direction, but there's a stop to the pose. And in EYP, it's not really, someone can do taking up space pretty greatly, but it's more on the shadow side, right? Like, yeah, I can do that. But I sometimes shut down other people because I have a right to speak up. So there's not really, depends on all of us. And that's the beauty of experimenting in your own body, through your own body. Great, so the interconnectedness has changed. Also balance. It's not my fault, but it's my responsibility. It's what's coming up. Compassion for that. Thank you. Learn to strengthen own agency. Yes, yes. Not just going through the motions, but actually being fully available for yourself and whatever you're experiencing. Yes. So sometimes self-love might be like, hey, don't push yourself. You always push yourself too hard. And sometimes self-love is, you know what? Let's get up and kick ass. Let's push ourselves a bit. You've got this. Risk it, mess it up, put yourself out there. And both are self-love, even though we're heading in very different directions, right? So it's up to us, our personal structure, our circumstances that day, our circumstances in life, ability for comfort, no negative talk allowed. And if I may, Stephanie, take it up a notch. If negative talk still finds its way through, I can be okay with that. Right? Letting go of the resistance, allowing. Wonderful. So let's go back there. Ready? You can gather all of the tools that we just gathered, and let's go there. So pretty easy pose, feet close together. I mean at least the physical instruction of the pose is pretty straight. Knees together, legs together. One arm could be the same, could be another one across the belly, through the waist, or someplace around where a waist sometimes might appear. And the other hand comes across. In EYP, we make a distinction not to do this, but we sometimes use as a hug. We take this a little bit into the a more closing stance. So that's why we hold one arm through the belly, and one arm will make that V shape. And allow your head to tilt. Maybe tuck your chin in a little bit. And allow your breath to deepen just a bit, so that we come in contact to be aware of what's happening in the body. How am I feeling with the pose now? Am I feeling comfort? Is there a resistance? How can I self-care my comfort? How can I self-care my resistance? Who am I being when I allow myself to care for myself? What version of myself am I being when I care for myself? One of my favorite questions: who benefits from the fact that I can take good care of myself? How can this benefit others around me? How does this benefit my relationships? My work? What will the quality of my ideas, my projects will be like if I come from this place of self-love? What part of my life could use more of this? Who am I being when I dare to step into self-love, self-care? Whose patterns am I leaving behind? Maybe try and shift your arms if you want to get a taste of what it would feel like with your other arm across, with your head tilting to the other side. And as we're also wrapping up the week with this session, what was one part of myself that I found vulnerable during the week? Of course, if you haven't been to any of the sessions, you could think of any moment that you felt vulnerable during your week. Can you hold that inside, that hug, that self-care, that self-love? That part of you that you find like, oh, like I'm really messing up here. I should be changing this. But for that part, maybe tomorrow we'll start changing that, or tonight. But for now, could we hold it here? Could we give love to that which feels unlovable? Which I would not dare show to the world because I think, or I had been taught that it is unworthy of love. That's ugly, that's bad. Can I hold it? Can I hold self-love for myself? Even before I reach perfection. And I say, of course, perfection in quotation marks. And again, before we come out of the pose, we still stay here for a few seconds to wrap up the experience. Maybe you want to give yourself that extra hug. Or make a commitment to yourself. And notice what you want to remember from the experience of being here in this pose. And take the next couple of seconds to come out of the pose at your own pace. Take your time to feel settled within yourself, because this is a very introspective or going inside of yourself pose. So whenever you feel ready to come back to meet the screen and go with that intention, I'm full, I'm complete. I've got this. I can go and be in the world. And luckily, if I know what self-love tastes like, I can have a better filter of the people that I want around me that allow this self-love to be a continuation of my own self-love. And luckily, if you're super lucky and you have bonus points somewhere in the universe or whatever thing happens that has that agenda, you might find people who show you that as well. Just allowing a few seconds for that digestion to happen. Great. So if someone feels ready to share 1 or 2 words or one short phrase of what you want to share about your experience. Usually at the end of an EYP workshop, we talk about commitments to yourself and things that you want to actually go ahead and do and maybe state them out loud so that you sort of feel a little pressured to go ahead and make that a reality. You don't have to, of course. That all the good and bad feelings are okay, that all belongs. That's what makes us whole, right? Comforted, quiet. I'm envious of those who this comes easy and naturally too. To me, envious is inspirational. Thank you for sharing that. And like we talked about before, this is a skill, so we gotta practice. And thankfully we have EYP, which shows you that you can get to self-love by doing this, right? And this is the seated variation that I use on the couch many times, many times. And I encourage people to do that. Sometimes when I'm like someplace with people that would not understand what I'm doing, I go like this. And you can go like that under the table, like on a dinner table, and nobody will notice. And this is yours, and it resources you. Particularly if you've been practicing on your own with the awareness, with the intention. Once you have that, it will come easily. Less expectations of myself now. A good pose to do at the end of the day. Yeah. I did mention the application in the coaching setting. I actually, we mostly did sort of like a coaching session in general, but for yoga, you could start off in a yoga class, like let's set this intention and have people stand, like at the beginning of the class, and set the intention that what I will be doing during this sequence will be in self-love. And when I use these sort of things in my classes, I really like to catch people, the whole group, not people in particular, and then stop it at some point and go, let's go back to standing. So how are you doing? Were you just doing that, like that push up or that thing that people get really hard on themselves? Was that self-love? Was that from self-love? If it was, go ahead, right? But it's a reminder. And then you can close again with this when people are going into their shavasana or their relaxation at the end. You can go again and close and frame the intention again. Yeah. So again, it's a practice. Wonderful. We're getting to a close. So as someone says, this is the final window of opportunity. It's going to be closing soon to share. Sometimes you want to be seen saying something that you want to be heard saying to the chat, whether you're on the stream or here on the Zoom. I find myself bowing a little more than leaning my head to the side, feeling humility, sort of sorry to myself for neglecting my needs personally, plus surrounding my ego spiritually. I love that gentle touch of my hand on my neck as well. It feels so loving, yeah. Mother love felt like a baby on my shoulder. Thank you for sharing your insights. So, yeah, like I told you, I felt super honored to be able to share these posts with all of you guys, particularly if this is your first time experiencing this. Don't be discouraged if you feel uncomfortable. It is a practice. I don't know what I would have experienced if I had done this 20 years ago. I probably would have been like, that's fine, That's a starting point. So congratulations on your way. Wonderful. It's been my pleasure to be with you throughout the week, throughout this session. I would love to hear if someone wants to say some closing words for your sessions for all of the week. We already talked about this earlier on the session at the beginning, but I'm allowing a small space for closure, for the sense of closing. And also, we're closing, but again, tomorrow we're having the yoga. I'm gonna be showing with Mark about yoga and EYP in application to yoga. So if you want to join us, 4 p.m. UK time tomorrow. Is it okay if the hand doesn't make it to the shoulder, but to the beach or upper chest instead? Yeah. Thank you. This week has felt like a psychological overhaul. Do you recommend to have self-compassion statements while doing the pose, or to have the mind quiet? I am whatever fits you, I would say, for now. Yeah. And if you want an even more accurate advice, maybe talk to someone who's guiding your process, and you might have even like the phrases that you actually need for that particular moment. Thank you to everyone else who made this week happen. It has been incredible. I'm so happy to hear that you've enjoyed it and that you've gotten some things out of it. That I think that I speak for many of, or maybe all of the facilitators, that at the end of the day, that's what we want to share. So super happy. And I'm gonna be back in a second, but I'm gonna hand over to Christina for just some closing notes.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That was really, really beautiful. And I love how you brought it that level deeper to not just self-care, but self-love. And I can speak for myself as well. Sometimes there is a first moment of sadness because we haven't done enough of it. But as you say, it's all about the practice then, and taking this as the first step. So, as usual, just a reminder that we have all the replays still over the weekend. And if you think that you'd like to share this with your friends or any one particular friend, then please do. Please do. You'll find the links either under the stream or here in the chat as well. Invite them, share this work, because it's really beautiful body of work. I'm going to ask you for your top tip to get into like that self-care. But I also want to share a beautifully put together video just to give you an impression of what it would look like to dive into EYP as a training, whether that's for coaching or your self-development or as a teacher trainer. And all the informations are on beautifully put together websites as well if you follow the links. So let's have a look at this first.
If you're a coach that's looking for a deeper approach to working with your clients, then this will be the course for you. And what the EYP course for coaches has to offer you is a way to shift things from getting stuck in the head and getting into the body and really revealing some deeper psychological layers of what might be happening, what's triggering your client to maybe not make the progress that you want them to make, maybe even helping them with boundaries or where they're lacking in leadership or where they need more leadership. And so what the EYP system does is it uses very simple forms. You don't have to have any sort of physical background. It's non-athletic. These very simple forms can be done in normal clothing, in any setting, anywhere, and you can then begin to look at the patterns that might be keeping your clients stuck. As a coach, I use this mostly with my clients with intimacy and relationship and communication, and as soon as I get them to move from the cerebral part of the conversation and getting them down and into their body, boom, immediately they have things that they can take away.
Yeah, have more self-belief and see yourself as you see other people, because I have a very critical eye at the moment.
You also have a whole range of tools to help them change state, build range. Maybe you have a client who isn't so great at being seen, taking up space in the sphere that they're working in. So you have some tools to help them to begin building that range, to begin anchoring it into their body. It also is great homework for your client, prescribing these as homework that they can do in their own time. You don't have to have any experience of working with the body. You're going to get very detailed videos of how to set up each of the 26 forms. You'll have lots of examples as well of how you can incorporate this into coaching and different coaching scenarios and environments. So when you sign up, you're not going to be left alone with this. There's plenty of support available to you. We have a private Facebook group that you are welcome to join. We have monthly Q&A calls, and on those calls, that's where you really get to know the community, so you get a lot of ideas of how other people are using the same things.
Getting comfortable making an offer. It's like overwhelming me a bit. Miles coming in now, your eyes are changing, huh?
What this program offers you is an arsenal of embodied tools. You'll also have concrete examples of how you can begin seamlessly incorporating this into your existing coaching practice.
So yeah, if you haven't had enough yet, look out for the links. And also we'll be sending out an email about the bonus events tomorrow, because we still didn't have enough. And one will focus on like the yoga teacher side of things, and one will focus on the coaching side of things. And without further ado, what is your top tip, Patty, for cultivating self-care?
I do have a very strong tip, and it's yes to everything. Yes to everything that arises. Yes to everything that shows up. Yes to me in all of my forms. Regardless of what I do in the next step. Yes to everything in the moment.
Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And yeah, maybe see you somewhere tomorrow or another time. Take self-care also after this session. Yeah, take care of yourselves. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Maybe we can unmute everyone here in the Zoom room with us, and you can express your gratitude as well, or whatever it is you want to express.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. I learned so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Arika. Hope I see you all in the training. I feel like I'm friends with you all now, all the regulars. Bye.